The more you tell me something can't be done, the more I'm like, keep feeding my fire.
Yes.
All right, get ready because today's guest has built a beauty empire that is shaking up the entire industry.
I pretty much scaled my business in the first 4 months to $500,000 in revenue per month.
Massive.
I did put in a lot of hard work. It wasn't just like I got lucky, you know.
She has built a multi-million-dollar company, secured thousands of stockists. She took her brand global, also launched a second business, Beauty Fridge, because why the heck not?
Something I'm really proud of is coming from an abusive household, which I left when I was 17, pretty much turning my life around, like not letting that define me, working through the shit, the trauma, building a better life for myself. That's probably my biggest achievement.
And let's welcome the one and only Iris Smit.
Iris Smit, welcome to the Unstoppable
Thank you.
Success
Thanks for having
series. This is super fun because I haven't recorded an episode in Perth before.
Oh, really?
With a guest. So this is really cool because, look,
that.
not too many people live over here.
No, everyone's in Sydney or overseas. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to just drive down the road for once and not have to get on a plane.
I know.
Yeah.
How do you find the juggle of that? Like living in Perth, obviously your manufacturing's over east and
Some's in Perth.
some's in
Yeah,
Perth.
some is
Okay,
in Perth, yeah.
awesome.
Probably like 50% is in Perth
Ah.
and then, the rest over east
Wow.
overseas.
I had no idea there was
Yeah,
even
there you go.
factories
Locally
here.
made.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so for those that don't know you, what makes you a badass boss? What do you do? What have you built?
That's a big question. So my name's Iris. I own a beauty brand. Started it pretty much from my dining room table in 2017. I guess what makes me a badass, I feel like I think about things differently. So, and I think that's why my brand's been successful is you give me an eyeliner, I think about it automatically in a different way from like normal people or any product, for example. And I guess I see problems very quickly in poorly designed products. And I'm all about recreating them to make them easier and more time efficient. for people to use. So maybe like my mindset, like the way I approach things, I'm always like, just because this is how something's been doesn't mean it has to be like that forever. Like if there's a problem or if it can be tweaked, let me get my hands into it.
But I
change
love that. I think so often, whether it's starting something new or even just we start a business and then we continue to do stuff the same way it's always been done, I'm actually just rejigging my entire business again because I'm like, cool, how can it be better?
Yeah.
How can it be different? And we don't have to wait until it's broken until we improve it. So I love
100%.
that. Before we get into all the nitty gritty, I always love to start off with an unapologetic brag, like a really proud moment, a big win.
Gosh.
It could be recently, it could just be over the whole entirety of your business because I think in Australia particularly, we have tall poppy syndrome. We don't often talk about our success. We don't just walk into a room and be like, hey, I'm a badass. Look at all the cool stuff I did. And so give us your best unapologetic brag.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, maybe I'll talk business and then like personal.
Yeah.
I think from a business perspective, my brag would be I pretty much scaled my business in the first 4 months to $500,000 in revenue per month.
Massive.
Which was so like huge business growth at the start. A
Was
lot of that
just kind of like ready, set, go, holy shit? Like, or did you know that it was going to grow that quickly?
it was holy shit.
Yeah.
But also like I did put in a lot of hard work. It wasn't just like I got lucky, you know.
Yes.
Going on Shark Tank, I would say that was a big brag because it was fucking scary.
Uh-huh.
I hope I can swear on this podcast.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the most nerve-wracking character building things I've ever done. Just putting myself out there for the world to see when I had like a fear of putting myself out there. Like I hadn't shown up on socials ever, which is probably like
visible. It's like the biggest fear that I had as well.
Yes, 100%. And then I guess up until now, I would say my brand's been very successful. It's stocked in some of the largest retailers in Australia and the world. So in Australia, you'd be familiar with Coles, Priceline, Terry White. Internationally, I've worked with BoxyCharm. I've worked with Douglas, Superdrug, to name a few.
Massive. Do you have one that's on your list for next?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go after the US market next.
Yes.
Probably either like Ulta or Walmart. Got my sight set on that. What else would I say? Yeah, so that's probably for business. I've got over 50 SKUs now. So taking a winged eyeliner stamp and then building that out to a full range of products.
Yeah.
So sunscreen, tanning.
So
what else have I gone into? Skincare, brows, like just
I was
getting
just thinking, I only have about 10 of them, so I've got a few more I
only
need to
10.
get. Yeah.
Still a good start. Well, I've got some more for you today here. Personal, I will put out a trigger warning for anyone now listening as well for domestic violence.
Yeah.
I would say personally, something I'm really proud of is coming from an abusive household, which I left when I was 17, and I get worked up talking about it. And yeah, pretty much turning my life around, like not letting that define me. Working through the shit, the trauma, and building a better life for myself. I would say that's probably my biggest achievement. Like the business is awesome, but knowing what I had to go through and getting to where I am now is probably like the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
It's still hard for me to talk about it, so I'm like, ugh,
no,
my heart rate goes up.
Thank you for sharing that. What do you feel like? Because a lot of times people have challenges in their lives or trauma in some way, and sometimes they take that as their narrative. Like, these are the cards I've been dealt. This is what it's only ever going to be. What do you think was your driving force that you have now gone on to build multi-million-dollar empire, just trailblazing the beauty industry, but also showing up as such a soul-led, self-led woman in business as well?
What was that defining moment?
Yeah.
Look, I think it does come back to like who I've just always been, which I know might not be helpful for people, but I feel like I've always just felt like I deserved better.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was always rallying for myself, rallying for that younger girl who was mistreated. And when I became an adult, I almost was like, I'm going to do it for her, you know? But at the start, when I left home and started my business, it was from almost a unhealthy perspective where I was running that like story of like, I'm not enough, and you know, I need to prove myself to the world, and I need to work super hard because then, you know, people will see me like I am deserving. So it became almost like an unhealthy habit where I was working myself to the bone, hit burnout hard, and realized that making more money and having a successful business didn't automatically equal feeling happy. So I think the turning point was getting to that point, and it was around Shark Tank, where I was like, everything on paper is freaking amazing. Like I have this incredibly successful business, Priceline want to range me, my business is growing, I'm hiring new people, and I felt freaking miserable inside. I felt so empty. I felt dead. Honestly, I just felt dead. And it was like, something has to change. You know, it can't get any worse than this. Like doing the work to change this is actually easier than staying here. So I think that was probably like my turning point where I was like, I actually need to go and speak to someone about everything that happened, work through this. And after that was like a good solid year or two of going to therapy, like literally twice a week to work through that shit and like unwrite those belief systems. Like the whole time I was just championing for that younger Iris, and I was like, I'm going to show her that, you know, she was undeserving of everything that happened, but also show her like how incredible life can be on the other side of that.
Yeah. So did you always have that element of hope and that bigger vision that you knew things could get better? Yeah,
I did. I always had a bit of I wouldn't say a mouth on me, but I always stood up for what I thought was right. And that was one of the reasons why also growing up was so tough for me, because I would fight back for what I thought was right. So I think a big moment for me that I had to process a lot in my therapy sessions was like the day I left home. So I was 17. It was the day before my 18th birthday, and most 18-year-olds would be freaking getting ready for a party, I was literally packing all my belongings into the boot of my car to move in with my best friend at the time. And when I went back in therapy and was like going and doing some of the deeper work, and I'm sure you've done it, you communicate with your younger self as like, my 20, I think I was probably 26 at the time. I was communicating with my 17-year-old self. And when I was speaking to her, I was like having this conversation and I was like, holy shit, she is so resilient and so tough. And she was like, I'm just ready to break free of this and just get out. So I definitely think, to answer your question, there was always this element of hope that once I left this, I was just going to go and make a name for myself and prove to myself that I wasn't deserving of any of that. And I think also growing up, there was a lot of negative stuff said to me. And I guess I just, I don't know if I really believed it at the time, but it just felt so strange to have some of these things said to me, like, you won't amount to this, just gross stuff.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I'm going to prove to myself and that younger Iris who had to, deal with all that verbal abuse that shit's fucking not true. I'm not going to let that be my story. I'm not going to believe this shit that I was told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you give to someone who maybe feels, whether it's their own self-talk, whether it's something that someone else has said to them, that just feels a little bit stuck in that self-doubt?
Mm-hmm. I think a big thing that I learnt was, my therapist called it the re-script game. You're probably familiar with it. Just becoming hyper aware of your thoughts and that inner voice and how it talks to you. So every time it would say something negative, or say if I made a mistake, oh, you're such a fucking idiot. Hold on. What was that? Say that again. And then actually re-script it.
Yes.
No, I'm not an idiot. I made a mistake because I'm doing something that I've never fucking done before. I'm running a huge business. Like, just being easier on yourself and then re-scripting that into a positive way. And it just takes time. Like, I think also people, will watch one manifestation video and think, oh my God, my life should be changing. And I'm like, it takes time. Like, if you think about how long you've been running some of these, negative processes in your head, sometimes like 20 years. It's not going to take, 24 hours just to overhaul that. So I think that was probably the biggest one for me, was that. And also taking a checklist of your life, like a stock take of your life. Who is in your life? What are you doing? What are your habits? What isn't serving you and like aligning to that person who you want to become, who doesn't have that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
So when I started going to therapy, pretty much 90% of people in my life were cleaned out. Like, it was a huge purge. Yeah.
Oh, I love that you shared the re-script and how you said you caught it in the moment and reset it in that moment. Because I think sometimes when people are going through learning about that or starting to rewire their self-talk, sometimes it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm so dumb, I said that thing now. And then it's like we start to notice, then we beat ourselves up about that. So I love that it's just the non-attachment, let me rewrite it to something more empowering, and then we move on with our day. And like you said, it takes practice. But then eventually I'm sure you stopped saying some of those negative things.
Yeah, you don't catch them at the end.
Yeah, so powerful.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to change gears and I want to play a little bit of a game.
Oh, okay.
So I've got some questions. And this is going to be a game of have you ever, but unstoppable.
Never have I ever.
Unstoppable Success Edition.
Yes.
So I want to know, have you ever been underestimated?
Have I ever been underestimated? Yes, multiple times.
Yes. Can you tell us about a time?
Actually, I was speaking about it last night. It was funny. I tried like a few different businesses before I started Quick Flick, like most entrepreneurs have, delved in a few things. And I don't know if this relates to the question, but it's a cool story to share anyway. And I started this business in, I think, 2014, 15, so a few years before Quick Flick. And it was like a spray tanning business just out of my spare room. And I called it like Naked by Iris. It's ironic because I ended up launching a range of fake tanning products into Quick Flick. And there was this guy who I worked with at the time, YD, and he was like, oh, cool, I've seen you start this business. What is it? And I said, oh, it's just, spray tanning out of my bedroom. And And he goes, oh, okay. I thought it was something so much bigger than that. Like the way he said it was, it just lit this match in me.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, shut the fuck up and just watch.
Yeah.
And it was almost just like he was poo-pooing on me at least just trying and starting something, you know? And I just had this feeling of just watch, just sit and watch and wait.
Just watch me. It's like my favorite motto. It's
just watch me do the things you thought that I couldn't do.
Uh-huh.
So probably that. And I would say, at the start, I was definitely, I think, underestimated. And that came from being in an unhealthy environment. I had a lot of toxic people around me who didn't have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And it's just, those kind of flyaway comments like, oh, how's your little eyeliner business doing? How's your hobby? Oh, why do you want to start a business? Like you've just finished architecture. Why do you want to throw that away? Just like planting those seeds of doubt. And I was like, and again, I think it was that like 17-year-old Iris been like, don't stand in my way.
Yeah.
So I think at the start there was a lot of doubt, and then you know what it's like. Once you pull it off, everyone's like, how did you do it?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. First they'll say, why are you doing it? And then they'll say, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah, so that's relevant.
Have you ever made a major investment that you were like so pumped about that didn't pay off?
No, maybe like with particular product launches, I guess maybe over investing in some of the marketing maybe, but I can't think of like a particular thing that, I was like, this is going to be huge, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I'm very like calculated with what I choose to invest in. Like I do a lot of the groundwork, homework. Like I'm very risk adverse, probably too much. So I guess maybe in the early days, I probably maybe invested in certain things that I didn't really need to, in terms of, paying like a photographer heaps of money to take all these beautiful images where I probably could have just, taken it at home and had people take more UGC style. So maybe that.
You look at those kind of investments, like let's say you invest a little bit too much in marketing, or you put money into, let's say, ads or a certain campaign that doesn't really get the ROI. How do you look at those kind of investments?
I see it as a cost of learning, which I'm sure you would agree with. That's like your face, you're like, yeah, that's true. So I think maybe even though it, didn't return what you were expecting in sales, it's like, well, let's look at the data and what can we, you've still paid to learn something. So, for an ad, maybe it was the content wasn't right, or maybe there was some other issue there. And you paid the price to learn that, and now you know for future. Yeah.
It's all about like pivoting, adapting, learning. And I often find if we sit in like, oh, I shouldn't have spent that money, or let me try and make that money back. It's like we're actually forgoing all the opportunities to just sell more things and
100%.
like move on and grow and get the money back that way.
Yeah.
But as humans, we're so wired to avoid losing stuff versus putting the energy into gaining more money.
100%.
So, but I love that mindset. That's so good.
Yeah.
So you have landed some of the biggest wholesale stockist deals in Australia and the world with Coles, Priceline, Terry White Chemist, all the ones you've named. How do you go about landing these deals? Because I know the work involved. One, to even get the contact to start with, to even open up a discussion.
Be able to
pitch, and then it's the negotiations back and forth. Then there's logistics, there's price points, there's all these things involved. So obviously you're a badass negotiator. But can you take us through a little bit on how these deals kind of come about?
Yeah, for sure. Well, they can come about in different ways. So like I'll talk to Priceline, for example. So Priceline actually approached me.
Yeah.
So I think it can go in one of two ways. You can either approach the retailer and hound them, find the buyers on LinkedIn. I've done that for some of our other retailers.
I love a good LinkedIn stalk.
Yeah, a LinkedIn DM. Otherwise, like Priceline approached me. They emailed, said, I think they'd seen it on like Instagram or something, and you basically then start pitching to them. I think a key thing is to have like a product deck. I know lots of brands who don't. They're like, what's a product deck? But it's basically just like a quick, display of all the products that you have to offer. You might put certain stats in there, how you sit in the market, how you compare to other brands that are ranged in these retailers. bestsellers, your story, just a whole, your best shot at why they should take your brand.
Yeah.
And I guess after that, there's obviously, pitching and negotiating margins and going through the whole contract and all of their requirements, making sure you're compliant to the retailer. Like a lot of these retailers have certain requirements with labeling and barcoding and sending your products to their DCs have to be robotic compliant.
Yeah,
so compliant
it's
with
intense.
their robots. Like, so I guess, making sure that you're compliant if you're not making sure you are. But after that, I think also people underestimate getting into retail is one thing. Staying in retail is harder.
Yeah.
So making sure you're driving traffic to go and purchase. So it's not just sit on the shelf and
they do
that's
the job
it and
for
they
you.
do the job.
Yeah.
I guess it's a partnership, It's like, how do you work with that retailer to raise awareness and get people to go in and purchase the product.
So good. What are the conversations like with that? Like, do they give you monthly reports? Do they just say, hey, here's our expectation?
Yeah.
Because you kill it in the content game. Yeah. You've got people chasing down calls. So you obviously do a great job at it. But what are those kind of conversations like?
Yeah. So yes, we get reports. You have, KPIs that you have to hit, sell-through rates. And if you don't, when it comes to range review periods, you'll get deleted. But I guess like when we were launching into Coles, it was also talking to them about this is some of the marketing that we want to do. And that was very new to Coles. Back then they didn't really have any, indie Australian brands in their stores. So there was conversations about, this is some of the marketing that we want to do. We want to make it really fun and fresh, and why should Coles be a destination to go and shop your beauty, and really like honing in on key messages, like making it convenient, tying that into our brand messaging. All of our products are convenient and quick. Go and pick up your sunscreen spray with your grocery. Yeah. It's quick and easy. So there was conversations, and like the buyers that we worked with were just absolutely incredible. They just got it. And I think that's a key thing, like working with a buyer who really understands your vision. Otherwise it can be really difficult. So I've been really fortunate. Like all the buyers we work with are just insanely credible, like give me like free range to like do our sometimes crazy marketing ideas. But they do work, like they do pay off. I mean, our most recent launch, like people were driving to like 3 different Coles to track down a lip oil. I was like, this is insane. Yeah.
It truly works. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your content strategy. Like you have nailed the storytelling formula. Yeah. For people who haven't seen it, go and look at the quick flick Iris Jade on Instagram, TikTok. But can you just give us a quick rundown, just in case people don't know the content? What is the vibe?
Yeah, so I guess like every new product has like a series, I suppose. So we're really big on taking people through the journey of that entire product, from concept to sketches and samples to manufacturing to actually launching on the shelf. So I guess, the storytelling is that entire process and taking people behind the scenes of the brand. I guess the format we use is like a really good hook at the start and just making it really clear, like, what are you in for? Like, is it?
What's your best tip for a hook? Because there's so many tips out there.
Yeah.
And I guess some of it's probably trial and error, right? For your audience, tone of voice. But do you have any tried and tested tips?
Yeah, for hooks, honestly, just testing. Like a lot of, it's hard because like I think people are like, oh, these hooks are proven to work. I'm like, they're not always proven to work. Like it's also dependent on what content you're sharing.
Yes.
I think, just testing lots of things. But actually, a thing that I do sometimes is if I'm watching a video, I'm like, oh, I watched that to the end. What was their hook? What did they say that made me watch this? And it's like,
curious.
What hooked me in? Was it a drama hook and I was like, oh, I want to watch to the end to see what this is about? Or was it, they needed my help or an opinion on something? So it's like I wanted to watch so that I could then give my input.
Yeah.
So that's also a good tip, I suppose.
And you do such a great job of getting customer feedback as well. And I think some brands do this where they use it so that their content can go viral and then they never actually take anything on board. Yes. How do you balance that? Because I am assuming that your product development life cycles are somewhat long, how do you take on the feedback from the comment sections and then put it into production? Because it looks like you do it so damn quick.
We do, yeah. We do move quick,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we are air freighting stock as well. That's how we manage to get it so quick rather than sea freighting. But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the advantage, like some of our products are made here in Australia.
Yeah.
So, you know, for example, last year when we were doing the tanning mousse and the after sun mousse, that was all made locally in Sydney. So it was literally like, well, let's decide on the packaging, and we went into print the next day. It was printed in 2 days and then sent to the next manufacturer, filled, like it was in the space of a week. It was quick.
Wow.
That's why sometimes I'm like, we desperately need your help. Like, let us know in the next 24 hours.
So good.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it, because if you had to wait a long time and then people lose the hype and then they forget, I think that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I want to know, what comes first? The deal with the stockist and the new product, or the content story? Because obviously you take people on the journey of, we're going to get it into Coles, help us with this, or give us the feedback. Do you already have some things in the works before you create content? Because I think as consumers, we want to see the journey. We want to be involved in it, and that works so well because you've built such an incredible community.
Yeah.
But then there's also the balance of, do you ever fear that what if it doesn't go ahead, or what if it doesn't work out? How do you play with that?
I just believe it will go ahead.
Yeah.
What did you write in your book? Like Delulu? I'm like, maybe I'm delusional, but I'm just like, I know it's going to go ahead.
I love it. And I think putting it out there, it's like, now it's got to go ahead.
Yeah,
so I'm going to make damn sure
it's going to happen.
Going to happen.
Yeah.
So good.
But yeah, to answer your question, like the deal doesn't always come first. And also like, because we've got the Priceline stands now, yeah, I guess touch wood, if we posted something and everyone was like, I freaking hate this, I don't want it, like I just wouldn't put it on the stand, you know?
Yeah.
So because that is our space, like we can kind of pick and choose what we want to put on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is like, it's not a lie, it is actually what people are saying and what the feedback is. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of brands want to tell the journey, but then they're like, hello, we've just launched. And people are like, wait, what?
Yeah. And everyone's like,
didn't get taken on the journey. But then there's also a lot of people do that because there's the fear of like, what if it doesn't work out? And where I've gotten to with it is like, if it doesn't work out, it makes for better content, and then you've got more.
Yeah. People love disaster stuff. Like we share when things don't go to plan, or there's like an issue with the printing, or like our viral cumber moment. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, the misspelt. Like most people would be like, that's so embarrassing.
To give people context, you had, what was it, the shelf
cardboard tray that was all like pretty much approved and was about to go into production, and then we took it into Coles to just do like a final check of it on shelves, and I was like, hang on a minute, that should say cucumber, but it says cumber. And I was like, oh my God, how embarrassing. But we shared it and it got like millions of views. It got a Daily Mail article. People were like laughing about it. It was great.
And it's memorable.
Yeah.
It's memorable. Like no one remembers perfect.
Yeah.
So
yes. 100%.
How good is that? Do you have a bit of a structure? Like let's say you have a new product coming out, or you're doing a launch into a store. Do you have like, okay, we always love to do these 5 kinds of videos, or is it just like, cool, let's take the whole story and cut it up into 4 segments? Do you have a template that you use?
Not really. There's not like just cut and paste for everyone. Like we definitely review prior series and take certain elements that were successful and then like reapply it. But yeah, everyone is different, and it also changes like based on what people are saying. If there's like a common question that keeps coming up, or if there's particular feedback on something, we might make a video in response to that. So it's like there's a basic foundation, and it's like we build on it actually as we go. It's not like perfectly planned out. Like sometimes we literally edited and filmed that video that day and posted it the same night. Like there is a skeleton structure of this is what we're going to do, but it's like, let's be flexible and tweak things as we go.
I think what I'm taking most from just everything when it comes to your products, your content, and why you have so much success is because you're just adaptable to the market, to the needs, to the problems, the solutions. And I think sometimes in business, we can try to control everything or have everything planned out and then we'll launch it.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty is you go as you go.
Yeah, literally.
You adapt, pivot, change, take on feedback as you go. And that works so well, not just for your products,
100%.
but for the content part as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So
yeah,
good.
It's a very good point. Yeah, don't stay rigid. Be flexible, and listen what people are saying and change as you go. And that's the best thing. Like, we're literally getting real-time feedback before we've even launched. Like, we can make those tweaks before we've invested all of that money and printed all the bottles and it's on the shelf, and then like, oh shit, we got to change it, and that's so expensive to do.
Yeah.
So I guess it really works in our favor doing that
So good.
backwards strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be your advice for people who want to maybe share more storytelling format, whether they have a product, whether they have a service or just a personal brand? What would your biggest piece of advice be around that?
Does this person have like particular problems? Like, they scared to show up, or just like they're
like, what do I post?
What do I post? Yeah. Honestly, just like post anything. Like, sometimes like the mundane stuff is interesting to people because they're like, oh, I can relate to this because I'm doing the same stuff. I would just think about, like, say if you're launching a product, like literally show what you're doing. Like, I'm like, what are you doing in the day? Oh, I'm doing this. That's a video right there. That's interesting. Because also we get caught up thinking like, oh, this is boring and mundane, but not everyone's developing products. Like, not everyone's running a business. That is interesting to people.
Yeah.
I'm just like, get out your phone and film whatever it is that you're doing. Like, some of the most randomest things go viral. Like me, like sketching out. I think I was sketching out the first shelf-ready trays for Coles, and I was like, design a shelf-ready tray for me. And it was just literally me sketching it, and it was like a 15-second video, and it went boom, blew up. I was like, why? It's like, but it was interesting for people. Like, what's a shelf-ready tray? What is that? Oh, that's so cool. You're sketching it out. Like, you're so hands-on. Like, yeah, so just film anything and everything. And if it doesn't work, again, it's a learning. And just, keep tweaking and changing as you go.
Yeah, I love that. I know something that Gary Vee always says is like, people talk about quality over quantity, but sometimes when you're starting, it's just got to be quantity until you figure the shit out, and then you can add more quality.
Quality,
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Because, I mean, you have to learn your audience as well and learn what you like to do and what you like to talk about. And, like, it's just even just good practice editing and testing. Like, I think, at one point when I was starting, I was doing like 2 videos a day, and some of them were just, I thought they were poor quality, but then they would go viral.
Yeah.
There is no, like, there's no rule book, you know? So
yeah. No, I love that. Messy action.
Throw it, what do they say? Like, throw it at the wall and just see what sticks. What's that saying? I don't know that one.
There's also a lot of advice that says do not do that, but I think it's because those people are trying to sell you a social media course. Or their way. They're like, don't just throw shit at a wall. Come and learn from me.
Yeah.
Which there's stuff you can definitely learn, but
I think things calculated at the wall. Like, be calculated when you throw it, but still throw it. Yeah.
Cool. So, because this is the Unstoppable Success series, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Oh my gosh, these are big questions. These are always so hard to answer because I'm like, I could talk. This is a whole podcast.
Yeah.
What does being unstoppable mean to me? I think it's just like living unapologetically as yourself. I think it's just owning who you are, not apologizing for who you are, being proud of who you are. I think also being like taking accountability for when you like fucked up and moving forward. Always striving to be better. Yeah, I think just being a good fucking person, you know? I don't know if that answers it.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. What would you say when someone tells you something can't be done? Let's say there's timeframes that can't be met, or there's challenges, or, you know, someone says, no, we're not going to stock the product. How do you power through with that?
Or you use those words on me and I'm going to make sure it gets done. I'm like, I'm up for the challenge. Don't say it can't be done, because I'll show you it can.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like a good example, when I first started, I was, just like cold calling and emailing people. And I think like it's so funny. The very first potential stockist that I emailed was like a small salon, and they were selling like beauty products here in Perth, actually. And it was the first one I ever emailed. I used to drive past it every single day, and I was like, I'm going to get in there. the universe had bigger plans for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I emailed and she came back. She was like a makeup artist and she said, I don't like the product because like true makeup artists know you don't use a stamp to do eyeliner. Like it's cheating. She was like, it's just, you know, it's a cheats way of doing eyeliner. It's not the real way to do it. And it's like, I could have taken that first email and been like, oh shit, and not bothered to, you know, continue outreaching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I just use that to fuel me to keep going. Like, I don't know if that's healthy or not, but yeah, the more you tell me something can't be done, the more I'm like, keep feeding my fire.
Yes. I always say where there's a will, there's always a way.
Yeah.
But it just depends how willing you are to do it. And like most people aren't willing to endure rejections or aren't willing to email 50,000 more people or, you know, cold call people. Or,
how badly do you want it? I'm always like, it's actually a good test of how badly you want something. Like it's a good filter system to like, how badly do you really want to do this in your life?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So don't tell me it can't be done.
A woman on a mission.
Oh yeah, 100%. Stand back.
Watch out. Holy shit.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
she's coming through.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing
No worries.
all your incredible wisdom. Like we could chat all damn day.
Oh, literally, I know. Like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like 5 minutes.
We'll do another hour on just what does unstoppable mean to you.
Yeah.
next
Oh
time.
my God.
We'll
It's such a big question. Hey, like, how do I answer that in 2 sentences? Anyway.
But thank you for sharing all your incredible wisdom. Oh, wait. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all your incredible wisdom
worries.
and knowledge and expertise with us. And I can't wait to see what you're going to power through. Actually, before we wrap up, you're not off the hook yet. I love just hearing like the delusional goals, the next level.
Oh, yes. What's the Delusional Goals?
So other than like Walmart and that, we've already got that in the bag. So like,
yes, it's already happening.
It's already happening.
Yeah. What's next?
What is next?
Oh, God, there's so many problems still to solve, I feel, in beauty. So working down my list of things that I feel still need to be solved. I'm working on quite a few different things in cosmetics, in sun care, hair care. I just launched my first hair care product. I would eventually like to get more into hair care, but I feel like I've got too much to do in the cosmetic space first. But yeah, just continuing to solve problems and make beauty easier and more time efficient. And yeah, global domination.
Global.
Just, I feel like, you know, everyone and anyone can use our products and there's a need for it internationally. So just continue to expand.
Love it.
Yeah.
Go get it. I can't wait to see all the storytelling reels about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Strap in.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.